Is it too much?
People don't think about that stuff.
To ask you.
Knowledge is power.
To grant us.
You need that you can't buy.
Human dignity.
All you have is knowledge.
Should we be put down and shot to death for this request?
That's why I'm just getting myself educated, because when I go out, it's about to be a bang. And I'll just be reading up on my free time. It's really sad because this generation is all about be creative, open your mind, free your soul. Let's just focus on freedom. No, you need to grasp hold of that soul, because you're still growing up. You don't know yourself. And now you have children who are going to grow up and try to find themselves, but they lost themselves because they didn't even have a notion of who they were in the first place. You see what I'm saying? It's more about feelings and expressing your feelings. But what about your intellect? Feelings come and go.
Well, you had better hear me today.
Today we have two beautiful ladies, Andrea and Garrett. She's a junior and a psych major. Say hi.
Hey.
And we have Murrell. She's a business administration marketing concentration. And she's also a junior. So the first question I would like to ask is, what does Black History mean to you? Not Black History Month, but Black History mean to you?
Black history is American history. It's the story and the tale of Black people. I think that it's all encompassing. I think it's just everything that Black people have lived through.
I think that Black history is just a blimp in African history, or a blimp of African history, because honestly, Black people here in America have no heritage. You have a lot of immigrants in America, Asians, Hispanics. They can go back to their home country, but what country do we go back to? So we are the first Americans, just like the Europeans. But I think one side is told and misconstrued more than the other, or highlighted more than the other.
Why is it so important? Like Black history, why is it so important? Do you think it's vital to educate ourselves of the history?
Absolutely, it's imperative. Like, you can't get somewhere if you don't know where you've been. But even more than that, our schools do a terrible job of educating us on Black history, which is American history. And I think not including Black people in the history books in a significant way is kind of a subliminal way of saying that your history doesn't matter, that you don't really matter. So I think it's important to a lot of different things: identity, culture, for white and Black people.
If I was to come to you and you used to try to educate me, and I would tell you, well, that doesn't really matter because that isn't going to give me a job, what would you what would you say to me?
I would say it does matter, because just like she said, you have to know where you came from. You have to know that there's a system, an institutional system that's structured a certain way, and it's catered to the dominant society. That society was built on our backs. Us as a people, in order for you to get a job and make sure that you have equal opportunities, just like they say, you have to know your law in order to fight law. We are oppressed as it is. So it's very, like you said, imperative for you to know your history. There are stigmas out there. It doesn't matter. People are going to view us one way, no matter what we do. People think, oh, you can dress nice, you can have suits, you should be presentable. Most Black people who were hung had suits on. So it doesn't matter if we dress a different way. It doesn't matter if we maintain our hair or wash our dreads. It doesn't matter if we bleach our skin. At the end of the day, that notion that they have of us is not going to change. You have to want to understand someone in order to learn about them. People don't want to understand. Why is it that racism being talked about only offends lighter skinned people, only makes them uncomfortable? They don't want to talk about it. So you have to know your history, because your supervisor, he's not giving you that pay raise, or he's not giving you that promotion. There's one factor or many factors that may be into play, but he doesn't want to talk about it.
Do you think Black history should be celebrated in just a month? Why or why not? When I say celebrated, I mean, how we have Black History Month. Do you think it shouldn't be a Black History Month?
I think the better or the flip side of that is us needing better teachers, needing more information, needing our history taught constantly on a regular basis on every level, all through school and then some. So until that happens, I understand Black History Month. I think that it comes out of a lack of teaching though, which is ultimately the problem. So until you fix that, then yeah, fine, Black History Month is okay.
I mean, honestly, I think that, you know how people have that concept of, oh, they're putting this in a box. Why is it that we have 1 month for celebration of history? Okay, they're putting this in a box, but that doesn't limit you to celebrating your own history. You have to be that different. And like she said, in the school system, teachers have to go by the curriculum, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they can't give their own 2 cents. Why is it that in the history books, only white or European achievements are praised or highlighted? All these people who've done great things, you show them, and then you show their demise. Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Rosa Parks, all these people, the Black Panther Party, who are deemed terrorists. So you're teaching my child, you can be great, you can stand up for what you believe in, but best believe it's gonna come back at you hard. That's why I'm going back to know your history during slavery time. If a master walks up to a slave asking about his son, oh, is your son good in the field? Is he a good worker? Is he healthy? All this stuff. The man's going to say he's not, because he doesn't want that master to sell that slave to someone else. And that's where you get the white mothers praising their child, and then the Black families like, yeah, he's okay. He's, you know, my boy's, he's good. But then you have the white mothers, he's smart, he's been on the honor roll, so-and-so. But you know, as a Black mother, that your son's doing more and achieving more than that white mother's son, but you don't give him the praise. You're not instilling that pride in your son. So then he turns to other things because my mom or my father doesn't even care enough. You're not even telling me my real value to someone else. I see that society has ingrained in me to be pure and of higher status, divine, white Jesus. Every Black child has been instilled in them, whether we know it or not, that the white Jesus is of divinity. Their skin is divine.
Going back to what you said earlier about we celebrate like Martin Luther King, Rosa Parks. I feel like Black history, that's all we hear. We don't really hear about 2015, 2014 history being made. We only hear about what was happening, you know, 1940s, 30s, 50s, all that.
And I think only like the Black people who didn't cause too much ruckus. Like Rosa Parks sat, Martin Luther King, he marched quietly, peacefully. Malcolm X doesn't get that shine, right? You don't get militant Negroes because, you know, everyone's afraid of the revolution, afraid of the uprising, I think.
And that's why we're terrorists.
One more question for you all. And this is something that we hear daily, hashtags, pictures. So, you know, we always hear Black Power, Black Lives Matter, you know. What is that? So what is Black Power? And is there a positive aspect that we can look at it as?
Absolutely. I think Black Power, Black Lives Matter in itself is inherently positive. Power to the people is taking power from government, putting it back in society, back in people's hands, which is what our Constitution is based off of. So Black Power is an oppressed people saying, we want power back, and not like we're trying to uprise. I think people take Black Lives Matters and Black Power as like a militant uprise, instead of seeing it as what it is, an oppressed people asking for equal opportunity, asking for equal rights, and taking their power back. So I think that's inherently pure and good. I think people do things that, you know, maybe give it a negative light, and even that is spun by the media.
I think that Black Power is positive. I think that we're telling society we're not invisible. You can't just take everything from us, expect us to do everything, and not get a peep out of us. You're telling my child in school that he's not good enough, So he looks to the streets or sports where he's accepted. You're killing off my child because as black mothers, we're making so many of them. So then you're killing them off, or you're trying to imprison them. That stop and frisk, who do you think that was directed towards? Why is it that if I'm driving a car, I'm getting pulled over, and if I don't have the same last name as my mother, you would take me in to see if that's my car or not? Or you stop me to see if that's my car? Or what am I doing in the car? Or because if I'm dressed one way, I must be this way. That you have the power to stand up for what you believe in. And matter of fact, you have a rich history. That even though it's not taught in school, you can learn about it. But I do think one thing that we as a people neglect is uplifting each other.
Yeah, definitely.
Like, there's a lot of Asian people who only sell to Asians, who only do business with Asians. We have it in our blood to invent things. There are a lot of black businesses, but we have to be that difference. Okay, I'm not going to go there. I'm going to go to this sister or this brother because I'm supporting her. I'm supporting my community because we built it and they're trying to take it away from us. So I think that, it's a great initiative. It kind of mirrors the Black Panther Party with like the community service and having the power. Because, really all they did was exercise the law. They went around the streets carrying guns. You couldn't have a concealed weapon, so they showed their weapon in the streets. And every time a policeman, they waited on the streets. Every time a policeman pulled someone over, they just sat there and watched them. Like, you're not going to mess with my people. We're not invisible. And like the riots and stuff, that's just saying like, we're tired of this. Our streets are dirty, you neglect us, there's rows of abandoned houses you do not care about, our school systems are trash, you're closing down school systems in Chicago, which are predominantly black. So who's gonna educate our children? Because we can't afford these prestige schools. Why can't we provide for them? Because we don't have jobs. You're not hiring us. Instead, you're hiring the brown men, like Hispanics, to fill those jobs so that America is no longer leaning on the back of an African-American man or woman.
Thank you, ladies. Thank you, Andrea and Bailey, for coming out. This is the end of our table talk.
Bye. It's a pleasure.
The hell do you think we care about dying if you're gonna deny us the right to live?